Good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you are, and welcome to Requiem for London, Chronicles, the City of Martyrs. And we begin our scene down an empty street of London, a street filled with shops that are now closed, condemned, or being rejuvenated, being upmarketed. This once proud old Victorian street is being modernized, being changed. But we zoom into one shop that seems to hold on to its past. Even with its new owner, it still lingers that old scent of London about it. This place, for now called Treadwells, is lit up in the streetlight, and the ever-present moonlight shines upon it. But we zoom into this place's owner and her thoughts and feelings of her new homestead.
Thoughts and feelings, indeed, many of them clamoring and crashing over each other like so many waves in a roiling sea. But zooming into setting the scene properly, if we enter the building, go through one of the lovely windows with their lovely zoomy camera gadget, you'll find Maria sitting at a desk that's seen better days, sort of got her legs in front of her with the ankles crossed, sort of just leisurely lounging in a way. There's a few tomes scattered about on the desk. It looks like she's been sort of intermittently reading one and then the other and having a bit of a scry around a couple of notes and a couple of notepads, making some notes of her own. But now she's just sort of sitting with a hand on her hip, one in her lap, holding a little golden item, which she just sort of thumbs and just staring off into the distance. It's like she's thinking, like she's contemplating. And indeed, probably the thinking and contemplating at this current juncture is not only the notes, but also a box with a green liquid-filled syringe in it. And that bloody thing has been keeping her awake at day. Is it a trap? Isn't it a trap? It's just been yes, no, reading the notes, rereading them, not finding any reference, and then just rereading the letter. And it's just infuriating. It's absolutely infuriating to have this coin toss of trap, not a trap, but wanting to believe that it isn't, because potentially so much gold at the end of that rainbow, so much. But on the other hand, it could just be a barbed wire maw ready to consume her soul. Who knows? Who knows with these goddamn mortar. So she taps her fingers, almost infuriated again, and then just forces herself to take a breathe in, a breathe out. And it's true what Aidan said last time he was here. It is calming. It is calming in a human way. And then she gets annoyed with herself for doing it. She just cannot get out of that annoyed mindset tonight. Who knows? Maybe Mars and Jupiter are aligned. Who knows? Something is going on that's just got her a tiny bit annoyed. So she just, again, takes a breath, clenches her fist, pops the item she was fumbling with it back in her pocket, and then goes out to inspect what the ghouls have done to recuperate the place, as it were. She's given instruction to make piles of sorting of books that can be salvaged, cannot be salvaged, items of value, of no value, and one of them, the wee little whore girl, she's put to use on eBay, just selling off whatever she can to whoever will buy it for as much as possible. Everything is an antique, everything is a collectible, everything is vintage. Just amp it up. People will lap it up, they'll buy it. And so she'll get rid of the trash and keep the treasures. What's making money?
As you do, your two new ghouls, they have been busy this past few days, nearly a week. They've been scavenging, searching, gathering anything of worth, anything that's not been sold off for drug money, and piling up and offering it to you. They seem to, anything they find that's good, and they don't steal. They don't hide back. They give it to you. If it's worth something, if it looks valuable, they offer it to you quietly, place it on your desk, waiting for you to acknowledge whether it's worth anything. anything they find that's rubbish, filth, or too destroyed, they just simply leave and or scatter or chuck away. And the objects that have been presented to you are some treasures, but they have been damaged, perhaps not as valuable as they used to be. There are one or two tomes that you know are very important, sort of ritualistic in manner, or very rare, and you know are worth of some value. But you can either sell or keep to study for yourself. These tomes will take many months just to kind of fully analyze and fully translate. Um, as you are quite aware, that Graves seems to have a very wide taste when it came to books, written in many different languages, some still living, some now dead. And as this
Keeping
proceeds, yep, sorry.
pretty much keeping what's valuable. If I find a original copy of Don Quixote that's going on the market to bolster my finances, anything that's worth
Oh
keeping,
yeah,
I keep. Like I said.
oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you find a few here and a few there. But the ghouls themselves seem somewhat of course the old Graves' ghoul seems very used to it. He knows the drill. He knows what's going on. He's happy to serve as long as you feed him the blood. The new ghoul, who, sorry, I'm trying to remember her name. I think it was Christelle or Chrissy. I'm trying to remember. We'll call it her for that for now.
Well, let's call it Crystal with a Y because that's super ghetto.
Oh yes, Christelle with a Y.
Style.
And she again has been helping out with the shop, and somewhat she seems has more purpose. She has like a drive, as if she has purpose again, that she's doing something important, and there's an aspect of nobility in that. But she still has that weak crave. She looks at you in the way that not of love, not of respect, but of simple addicted desire. You know what she wants, and you tease her with it. But she's loyal for now. And this proceeds, and this happens for the past few days. These events have been happening for you, unless you tell them to do anything else or assign them to any other task. Until a certain event or something will happen, unless you want to add some extra thoughts.
No real extra thoughts. They are told to keep working until this place is shipshape. I allow them meal breaks and sleep time, of course. I'm not that harsh of a taskmaster. I remember too what it is like to be human. But no, just get this place shipshape, get everything, get the security back up and running, get the electrics connected again, all the things that I need to get done. I'm just pottering around, having a look at tomes, and being annoyed at Graves for leaving cryptic shit, as per usual.
Then on one particular night, you find yourself looking over some tomes, some simple translation. It's long, it's tedious, but it has to be done. But on this particular night, suddenly you hear a noise. The whirring sound of a device, electricity, static builds up in the air. And you hear the sounds of zapping, and bright light shines across the Treadwells interior, and zap, zap, zap. And you hear a cry, an outcry of someone. And he seems to be speaking, says something definitely rude, but in a language you don't quite understand, not quite sure of. Actually, how many doctors and academics do you have?
That's a very good question. 2.
You could roll.
Probably.
Yeah, 50-50, you could roll. Yeah, I think academics and let's say wits, because it's about, it's a very brief, quick.
Any modifiers?
Due to its distance and the noise of the zapping, I'm going to say -3. It's a bit difficult because you only heard a few words.
Yep, that's a success there.
This is where you roll 10s like all night, don't you?
10s for days.
10s for days. Okay. You recognize instantly the word. He says it's a very rude word of like whore, slut, slave. But it's in a very ancient or very old, like African dialect, sort of northern Egyptian sort of dialect. you only just briefly just picks in your ear, and you're like, oh no, I know that word. I've read that word on a few ancient kind of tomes.
You know, that actually makes a very, very humorous type of sense, because whenever you're learning a new language, you always start by learning the rude words first.
Yes,
Everyone does. It's that you don't.
Everyone does. Everyone does, and you just pick that up. You're not exactly sure where or when, but definitely North Africa. That's the tone comes out. And with this, of course, the ghouls kind of scatter, or they run, or they go towards you. In some ways to protect you, but in other ways because they're just afraid. But if you emerge or look, you will see a particular individual. And let's say you're at the upstairs level, but there's still the hole on that second level, looking down into the lower shop on the ceiling. And you look down and you see this figure before you, as he's kind of sort of scrubbing off, of cleaning himself off, and you see these burn marks on him, and obviously he has set off the trap that you have left on the lower level near the back entranceway in case of intruders. You've rewired Dietrich's old Tesla zapping device, a more primitive version of it, but it seems to have done the trick.
That's all I needed to do. Get up and go down there. Tell my ghouls to stay whimpering behind me if they're scared, but pretty much not disguising my footsteps, just sort of making it known that I know and I'm slowly approaching.
You just hear again, you hear more of those words, and then suddenly he looks and sees you and just goes, you one clever lady. You seem to have captured our bow. Zapped him good.
Raise an eyebrow. You kiss your mother with that mouth?
My apologies, my dear lady. I do not mean to use the old tongue in such a bad way, but you snuck up on Bo. He did not see your clever little trap.
At this point, your language is of the least concern to me. You have invaded my personal space, and you have precisely 3 sentences to explain yourself.
He kind of he pauses. He takes time to think. And sorry, the individual you see before you is as in the image. He has this skull painted on his face. He has these bright eyes, very sort of toned and sort of muscular body, and he's very tall. He's 6'3", 4, and he seems to be wearing these like just combat gloves, spikes, bullets sort of strapped around his torso and waist, and hair that's just wild and crazy. And he is a masquerade breach if you've ever seen one. And he just resonates. He pulses out this horrid decay and smell of dust, bone dust seems to emit from him. But he seems to pause.
In the pause, I'm getting ready to burn blood points and attack if necessary. I need to keep him busy.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, he only pauses. He doesn't seem anything aggressive. He just pauses, and he pauses in the way of someone that's thinking very slowly. You've only seen this with a few kindred who take their words very carefully. They always take their time.
While he's pausing, I'll just tell the ghouls to fuck off. As you were.
And he looks.
As you keep cleaning.
Yes, my first sentence is one of apology. I did not know this was your residence. Hey. My second sentence is that your brother, companion, lover, sent me, told me of your whereabouts. Thirdly, my last sentence, I say, I've given a vow not to harm you or your brother until our transaction or dealings are done. A serious vow, a Cappadocian vow.
Priya just turns on a heel and say, well, then come to my office. We have deals to discuss.
I am assumed that I can talk more. It seems words are expensive here.
Not under my roof.
Ah, good. And he kind of just sort of as if relaxes a bit, and you instantly see he's healing the damage that's done. There's some burn marks and a bit of flesh sizzled on his face, but he heals the damage quite effortlessly and just sort of goes towards you. Sorry, what was that?
I said he brought it on himself, gets no sympathy from me. But head on back up to the office, and I wasn't expecting any visitors, perhaps foolishly. Sort of as walking past the desk, just close a few tomes from their places, from where they were open, and then just sort of take the Lord's seat and gesture for the other side.
He walks and he looks around. He walks to the upper level. He looks back and forth and examines the room, the situation. He looks at your ghouls who have moved or escorted away or done whatever you said them to do. And he presents to sit, sort of gesture and bow as he sits. And he's about to like put his feet up on the desk, but then realizes where he is, decides not to, and looks down and goes, I may be rude in asking, but this was someone else's domain long ago. A particular individual.
And just nod and go, not so long ago. Depends on how you see time.
Time is no worry for our kind. Time is as long as the night and as sudden as the sunrise.
Time is a consideration, no more, no less.
I merely ask because the previous owner of this place, infamous thief.
Among other things.
Well, I only wish the new resident of this fine establishment with all good luck and fortune. May the shadowy cloak of death avoid your hollow haven.
Thank you for the consideration. But death finds us all. The biggest lie we tell ourselves is that we're immortal.
Clever.
You wish to speak business. Let me not hold you up.
You have something that I seek and does belong to me. But I understand that you have possession of now.
That I do.
It's painful for him to do this. Like, he doesn't want to, but he has to. You have my dear sister. She is apparently ribbit, amphibian-like frog.
She has been transformed, yes.
That's foolish girl poking her nose. It should not be poked. I warned her of that place. She does not listen.
Perhaps she'll listen now that she's had a lesson.
Time has taught me many kindred don't learn from their lessons. But hopefully she will.
That will be up to her. In the meantime, how do you feel about a service for a service? The old way.
I do enjoy the old ways.
The old ways are the best ways, I find. Tried and true.
Ask of your boon. What do you seek? What do you want? What can Bo help such a fine lady? like yourself with?
There is an item that I wish returned to this establishment. It is a black skull. Are you aware of its existence?
Yeah, right. This is where you're gonna have to roll some dice as soon as you say that. So this will be a empathy and wits minus his composure, which isn't great. So -3. -3.
Mhm.
No,
No
okay.
successes.
He just
There is so much
calmly,
potential days.
looks to you. Ah, black skull, you say. What do you want with this black skull?
I have a pedestal to the right of my office desk, which I think it would look really good on.
You don't seem the vain type. You seem, well, like the previous owner, interested in items of power. But I am curious whether you know what you're dealing with.
We've
For he
spoken.
didn't. I will consider this, but please just give me some small detail on the previous, your relationship, your essence, your standing with the previous owner. This has got me on edge, and I just like to have some information to calm me nerves.
So he looks like a bit of a punk rocker as well, so I imagine he might get the reference when I sort of just look off into the corner and then just quote the old lyrics of, I believe my relationship can be summed up with, I am the son and heir.
You ought to be careful of the wonders one inherits, as well as the burdens and the curses. I know the skull you speak of, and it seems that old bearded wizard is more clever than I thought. He seems to have guided my sister to you for a reason.
Fortunate for me.
I'd be careful with his meddlings. He speaks of neutrality and protection, but
I'm
he
careful with pretty much with
manipulates
everyone, my
and
dear.
he is playing a long, long game. I don't know what that bearded one does in the shadows. What he
Nor do
sees
I
in the
care to.
future. Your business with him is yours. But my sister, I can offer terms.
Then speak and we shall deal.
I and my sister can find this skull for ye and give it back and allow you to claim ownership of it. As I'm sure you're fully aware, such artifacts must be owned to be used properly.
Just nods. Don't teach me how to suck eggs, mate.
Under one condition. You see, me and my sister seek such an item ourselves. One of the reasons we have come to this foul, mortal city. We simply wish to perform one ritual using the skull. Upon
Which
completion,
ritual would that be?
Cappadocian secrets. That's extra. But upon completion, we will give the skull back to you, fully intact, as cursed and as eerie as it is.
You're getting ahead of yourself, my dear.
These are my terms.
My terms are that you just looks him up and down. In all of your powerful glory, fetch the skull for me, and then you may have your sister back.
Yes. I thought you might say that.
Why would I not? It's the logical answer,
But
and I hold her.
I have to counter, because, you see, as you've looked and noticed of me, I'm not the brains. I am the muscle, the fist of us, of the arm of the Cappadocians. But my sister, she's the one with the sight. She's the one who was so close to finding the skull. Now, I could promise to find it for you, but I don't think it'd be any time soon.
I have time, and I'm sure she enjoys being a frog. I built her a lovely terrarium.
Oh, you failed the roll earlier, so yeah. You can tell he's slightly annoyed at that, and he closes an eye. But I think a compromise can be sought. If you release my sister, I vow on her behalf and mine to find the skull and bring it to you as soon as possible. Now, this is a Cappadocian oath. Unlike you others, our oaths mean something. They're as solid as death itself.
I'm still interested in this ritual. Then, how about this then? Your terms, as were, with the return of the skull as soon as possible, and you include me in this ritual. I wish to see the magic you perform.
Oh, your eyes burn too bright, dearie. You should be careful. Perhaps they burn.
Perhaps all I'm seeing at this point, perhaps foolishly, and right now she's just playing with him. She knows that she knows what she's doing. Is it's like perhaps foolishly, perhaps in a young way. Yes, I crave power, but what I see is that I have a card, a very high-ranking card in my hand, and I'd be foolish to throw it away for very little. I also see that it would be foolish of me to allow you and your sister to walk out of here without any kind of leverage, oaths or not.
Now, he takes a good solid few moments to think, and he pauses. And it's strange. It's as if for mortal, these moments would be awkward, but amongst certain kindred, these moments aren't. Kindred take their time. Old kindred, especially, they never answer quickly. They don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And then he looks back to you. Agreed. I and my sister will recover the skull, bring it back to you, and you may join in the ritual and observe its makings. Under the condition you do not spread or show others this ritual.
For
Upon
the first
punishment
time,
of death shadow.
at that point, she'll actually crack the first genuine smile of the evening, and it's a hungry smile, and Bo will recognize it, and she'll go, "Why would I be that stupid?"
You asked this, and you asked to witness this ritual. A clever one wouldn't. Such things should not be seen. Such things can be open doors to the unprepared like. But it is your risk, your soul. Who am I to say no?
And so we have an agreement.
He stands up.
I also shall stand up.
He cuts, like, he actually bites his thumb. And he bites it off until there's just the flesh has been removed and nothing but bone.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets the bony sort of thumb finger and then carves into his skin and just sort of goes, by their shadow, by their scythe, by the mark of the immortal, I bind and make it so. And he kind of shows you his hand as if this is the agreement I've made. This is the bound I've made.
He's expecting juju like that from me. I ain't doing the cultural appropriation Cappadocian thing. I just held out my hand for a shake.
Yeah, that's merely his thing. You know, whether
Fine.
you're bound by your thing, that's your thing. Yeah. And
No,
if you hold out your hand, he will just
for a
shake.
shake. Yeah, look at you know, everyone's got their own thing. For me, a good handshake's as good as any other.
Now, we agreed on terms. Where is my naughty sister?
Why don't you go wait in my parlor and I shall bring her to you?
Yeah. Very well. But don't zap me again. That was not pleasant.
Don't break into my haven again. That also was not pleasant. But let's have that be bygones. Off your throat.
He just stomps, and again, his footsteps are quite heavy as he sort of stomps out of your place. But he'll go to wherever place you've directed him or told him to go, and he'll wait.
Mm-hmm. I instruct Nigel to offer him a cup of tea, mostly because I want to play with Nigel.
Oh, Nigel. Oh. Okay, that's another roll. That's another roll. Right. Yes. Give me again. Give me a wits.
Might also be tempting him to fuck up in my haven.
Yeah, give him wits, empathy. Give me wits, empathy, minus. Actually, he's quite good at composure, so it'd be -4 from Nigel. He's very good. He's a shopkeeper. He's very good at social stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. So what do you want?
Yeah, wits, empathy. Wits, empathy, -4, which is Nigel's is composure.
Not D20s, you silly girl. D10s. Nothing. I'm not feeling it tonight.
Yeah, you look, and Nigel, you tell Nigel whatever, offer him something or get him a drink, and Nigel just merely sort of looks to this tall figure, this massive figure, and he just sort of nods and like greets and looks away, but then he looks back to you, and it is a look of concern, but then just merely looks away again and proceeds outwards. And wherever, of course, the individual in front of you, in front of him, is just ignored whatever demands and gestured him aside.
Down to the basement, past the mini traps and locks. Let's get that frog.
Yep, you find the frog. Of course, it's a weird frog. It's quite like deformed and lanky and sort of has this deathly skull reptilian sort of face, and it's definitely not a normal frog. It looks very abnormal, and of course you can sense that kindred essence from it as well.
All right, well, considering, let's look at this in a practical way. I don't know how much vitae it's got left in it. When I transform it back, I don't want to be the only one in the room with it and risk it frenzying on me. That would really ruin my night. So we shall take the froggy to the parlor, where there is a larger creature that it can frenzy on if required.
Okay, yeah, you take it to the parlor, and yes, you have been informed of the magic words to transform it back, and I will leave that entirely up to you when you want to do, or what you wish to do.
Well, for starters, I shall stay in the doorway, put the frog in the center of the room, So just in case it does frenzy on someone waking up hungry, and speak the magic incantations to transform. Fushka.
So, like some fairy tale story, the frog just suddenly nothing happens, as if for a few moments, but then suddenly the frog starts to just get larger. The limbs start contorting, and the face gets longer, and it's this sort of it's like skeletal, very sort of long skeletal kind of form emerges, and it breaks the glass, and it gets larger and larger, and this sort of skeleton starts to form flesh around it, and it's as if it's drawing the dirt, the earth, the decay from Treadwells to manifest itself, to form itself. And from this very thin, bone-like figure emerges, completely naked, and it is covered in ruins and tattoos and symbols. The hair is very sort of wily and weak, and this painted skull face is glimmers on the front, and these very bright eyes and these deep sockets that seem to emerge as if they are hollow and empty. And of course, very wise blue, it emerges hungry. And of course, it looks for the closest thing to feed on. And the individual bow, the figure bow, seems to be there proudly, as if expecting it. And this figure just pounces on him, jumps on him, and starts to just drain him. But he has a smirk on his face, a sort of smile on his face. And he seems to be holding her as if, like, prepared to propel her, prepared to throw her across the room at any time he wishes. But he doesn't. He kind of just holds her in, and it's like the welcoming grasp of a mother feeding their newborn child, feeding them the precious essence of life, to give
Stop playing with my heartstrings.
to give them that milk, that food and sustenance, but being controlled enough to understand them, to understand their hunger. And after a few moments, Bo is kind of has to kind of at one point has to stop her, and he pulls her head and basically holds her head up with one hand, and then kind of throws her across the room, and then again speaks that language, that archaic, ancient kind of language, and you can pick up a few words. Do your success early, I'll give you. It's a few words of like stay hand, stay yourself, I'll end you, finish you, you know, and brother is mentioned, brother.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks and turns to the room as if sated suddenly, but then is kind of controlling herself, and it's as if this primordial creature, this shadowy, bony figure, her arms and legs are stretched out in ways that shouldn't be humanly possible, but somehow she can do this. But then she corrects herself. Her joints click and clank and sort of come together, and her demeanor, her pose, her composure comes, and she sort of I am so sorry for my feeding, brother. And then she speaks that again, a language quite archaic and apologetic, and she goes to hug him. And they both hug and then start to sort of kiss each other and embrace each other in quite a physical lover sort of mentality or lover state, but very sharp, very quick, very simple, nothing prolonged, nothing passionate, a very longing and understanding relationship. And you can tell he's quite angry at her, but she's playing the kind of naughty
She's playing
schoolgirl angle.
the woman.
Yes, the woman, the naughty schoolgirl, like, yes, I've done something bad, but you love it. It's that kind of relationship. But at some point,
Mm-hmm.
both of them look at you, and they look at you with those bright, shiny eyes, that deep sort of look. And again, he speaks to her in that old language, that old tongue, which you can kind of grasp. And you understand just about enough to sort of translate of another one that seeks knowledge. And she replies, will she burn? And he replies, perhaps. And at this point, he starts.
I'll pipe up with, See if I burn. Most interesting. Please feel free to use English. I can actually understand you.
And they both just sort of look to each other, so of course somewhat surprised. And at this point, she seems to take over. And she sort of approaches forward, goes, "It is so rare to find one that understands the old words. I apologize for this mess, this intrusion on your domain."
Just wave it away. I've had enough apologies. We have a bargain at this point. Pretty much just laying it flat. We're not friends. We've got a deal. That's it.
Very well. She kind of looks to her brother, and her and the brother seem to talk for a brief few moments. He just basically updates her with what's happening. So what you'll do. She just nods in a kind of surprised way and annoyed. And he's mentioning the wizard and how, yeah. And then she turns to you going, "I seem to have asked the wizard to seek the skull, and he told me I'd find what I sought in the bar, and it seems I have found it. It seems you have seen the skull. You have touched it. You have tasted it."
Just nod.
"I can find it. I'm so close. I've been seeking it so long now." "Yes, yes, you are. You have seen it. You have smelt it. You have sensed it. Blood. Blood I sense from you. You tasted blood in its presence, didn't you?"
Just sort of nod again. So what do you require of me?
Me and my brother will honor that deal. We will accept the terms. But my brother is dim. The sight has not blessed him, but has blessed me. Give me your hand, my dear. Let El show you. We will see together where the skull lies.
Fortune favors the brave. Hold out the hand and hope she's had enough to drink. Because if she has a go at me, I swear to Christ, I'm going to break my promise to you, David, on no blood binding people on the first scene.
You hold out a hand. She grasps it and really kind of, she just feels it. And her fingers are so bony and pokey, and she sort of really kind of digs her fingers into your hand. Not to damage it or pierce it, but just in a real, as if she's trying to really understand something.
It's just pain.
And as she does this, she even begins to kind of lick and taste. And it tries to get as much connection to your hand as possible. And you can feel very cold and sort of bony features just sort of warp over your flesh. And even by kindred standards, it's horrid. It's just that the smell of decay, rot. It's like putting your hand in sludge of 1,000 corpses. And to a mortal, this would be absolutely repellent, and you'd be vomiting. Actually, one of your ghouls in the background kind of vomit just from the smells that are kind of being emitted right now. But as she does this, suddenly visions hit you.
We're having a moment, and the ghoul is vomiting, which means that I will be looking over my shoulder at the ghoul, glaring daggers, and going, "If you can't handle it, leave. Just leave."
Yeah, well, the young female ghoul, Christelle, is just looking, but the smells and what's happening, her jaw, like the creature's jaw extends quite large, and she just starts to vomit in the corner. It's so unnatural and so rotten what is happening right now.
I'm ashamed for my retainers. I am ashamed that they cannot handle this. They are making me look bad.
That is actually,
Fuck off. Get out of here, you fucking noobs. I don't need you around right now. Fuck off.
Even Bo takes notes as he sees, and he kind of giggles in the background as one of your ghouls like vomits in the corner and just sort of.
Deal with you later.
But you
We're
start to
indicted.
see vision. You start to see
Yes.
vision, and she shares it with you, but you can tell instantly, your creature, your beast can tell she's denying you certain aspects of the vision. She's holding things back, but she is showing you something. And she's shown in your mind. Her voice envelops your mind, and you can read her, she can read you. And you see a mausoleum. You see a mausoleum that has Egyptian ruins
It's the
scattered
mausoleum, isn't
around
it?
it. Yes, you've been to this mausoleum before, and deep down you see a deep tunnel. And as you go down this tunnel, you see blades, you see fire, you see traps, you see curses, you see creatures, you see owls, you see monsters. As this tunnel gets louder and louder and longer as you go down, then towards right at the bottom, you see a skull that's been pounded into a brick wall. It's been pounded into like concrete, into stone. And you see a hand that's kind of has placed it there. As his hand draws away, you hear this music, this sound emitting behind you, going da 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 da. And with that, this face screams at you, this horror with a sense of nightmarish terror. Every fear, every aspect of your inner secret darkness has been flooded to the surface. And with that, you're drawn back. You're drawn back into the normal world, the mortal world, the awoken world. And this creature thing in front of you lets go and looks to you going, and she breathes in deeply as if this is a creature that never breathes deeply, but even she does, and just goes, I see it. I see it. I know it is.
I'm just thinking after seeing all those traps, those owls, better you than me.
Yeah. She speaks to her brother. She turns, and again, speaking that old language, and she speaks words of traps, hidden, graves, thief. And she's about to say more, but her brother tells her to shut up, to stop. And they both start to look to you. And again, they make this adorable couple because she's very small. She's only 4 foot something, 5 foot, 4 foot something. She's a very small figure, very lanky, and he's this very large figure. But they both look to you, and they just sort of look. And as if they're looking at each other in the eyes, as if they're communicating a lot without even having to speak or say anything. And as they do this, they look back to you. And Bo speaks.
I will have taken a seat in the occasional chair over to the side, keeping up my facade of whatever, because at this point I'm at the fake it till you make it stage. And I'll just simply sit there just tapping my finger going, how long do you believe it will take for you to deliver the item?
The skull will be retrieved, will be found, and brought back here within 2 to 3 moons, 2 to 3 night times, weeks as mortals would call them.
That is acceptable. Do you require a snack before you leave? I have a ghoul that needs disciplining.
This one is older than she seems, wise in the ways of hospitality. My sister is quite hungry.
Christelle?
So Christelle, like, awkwardly emerges from the shadow after just vomiting, like in a corner. Again, you're not sure whether she's sober or drugged up. It's always hard to tell with her, but she just walks up to you going, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Well, I don't know
I'll
what's
just
going
gesture at
on.
them and say, this will not be pleasant and you won't do it again.
But I didn't mean to upset you. I just didn't know what was going on, and it was so, it stunk so much.
I'm going to glare at her and use my speciality of intimidate with the death stare, which I actually did buy, and just death stare her over there.
Yeah,
as
fine.
in, shut up, do what I told you.
You do that, and she just immediately just sort of reacts in a, oh, okay, and just shut up. And she's shivering. She's kind of really like shivering and is so terrified and so scared as she just gradually walks awkwardly over towards the two individuals.
What's it called now? What is it when we're called, like, if you're scared of heights, they force you to go to a high place, or scared of dogs?
Yeah.
Like, so I'll just pretty much just say, think of it of immersion therapy. You'll be stronger for it.
And as you do, as she just approaches the skeletal small female figure, she just looks to her, and as she looks to her, she just sort of apologizes and sort of speaks to her very calmly, saying, "I'm so sorry, my dear, but this will hurt." And with that, she lets out these incredibly long fangs from her skull-like form and bites into her skin and starts to feed. As she feeds, your ghoul just starts to scream like intense pain. And she just starts, oh! And this is not the bite of like normal kindred. This isn't a bite of relief or pleasure. This is the bite of as if, yes, your very essence is being drained. Your very soul is being sucked out of you.
It saves me the hassle of disciplining her later.
Oh, this is abhorrent to her. And she drains enough, not to kill her, but you know, she's definitely been drained quite a few blood points. And at which point she drops to the floor on her knees. And this creature, the L individual, looks to you, and your ghoul is just shaking on the floor and trying to get herself up and tries to crawl back to you in a manner of as if she wants protection or wants something. But the kindred opposite you just looks and licks her lips, and it's as if the blood is draining into her face, as if it's not even her mouth or teeth that absorb it, it's her face itself that absorbs it, and just looks and nods. And we Cappadocians remember your hospitality.
Whilst she was sitting there feeding, though, I will have had a good study of the glyphs on their body. Do I recognize any of them? I just really wanted to just stay still for a little bit as well.
We'll do a roll at the end of the scene, and we'll discuss. Oh yeah, she's completely naked and bony and mummified and horrific as this is all happening. We'll do a roll at the end of the scene, and I'll describe it. But then at this point, Bo will look to you and bow and just simply go, "We humbly acknowledge your hospitality, and we shall now depart. We hope the realm, the haven place of Treadwells, long lives and stays out of the shadow of death's embrace."
Let us complete one deal before beginning another. I like you. You're welcome at my door anytime.
He just nods. And with that, he kind of holds his sister very closely. And they just simply start to walk out. But as they walk out, they don't open the door. They just seem to just vanish. They seem to just disappear, evaporate, as it were. As if they were there one moment, but now they're gone. Wait, were they here? Did they leave? You're not sure. It's as if they just simply disappeared into the night itself. And at this point, you do have a ghoul looking up at you, going, "Please help me! I so." And she's just barely like breathing, and she's pale and white and just sort of barely alive.
Barely alive, like to the point where if I give her some vitae, she'll turn? No, not buying that.
She just looks, "Oh, please help me. I'm sorry,
Nigel.
I didn't mean." "No, please." And of course, Nigel will obey. He's seen this all before. He's acknowledged it. He's accepted it.
Sort her out. I want her ready to work again by tomorrow.
Of course, mistress. Of course, mistress. I will deal with her. He just grabs her and pulls her away. She's sort of crying out for you or asking help from you. And he crawls her and he actually hits her a few times. Like, shut up. You don't realize what you're doing. Just shut up. But you hear him dragging her into like a spare room where he lays her down or puts her out. And we're left with your final notes on this shop.
Oh, I've been shafted somehow. I know it. I'm not freaking old enough to make these deals, but fuck it, fake it till you make it. That's what they say. I am ecstatic that they agreed to let me be a part of the ritual, because that's what I want to know. I mean, what is left other than the power over death itself, and these guys have it in their grasp. Oh, to know an iota of what they know, that would make me terrifying. That's what I want. So perhaps counting my chickens before they hatch a tiny bit, but just sort of disciplining myself to sit back down, go back up to the study, and go over Graves' notes once more. Look for any sort of reference on the skull more than what I've already got. Maybe we can do a few rolls on that one, and also trying to figure out who these Cappadocians are, where they've come from. Obviously, they've come from from one of the African regions, which is where the skull's coming from Egypt. So they would have probably the best way of knowing how it all works. So it seems best for me to keep them in my good books, not only because they can tear my soul a new asshole, but also because they have knowledge that I want. And knowledge is the true power.
I think with that, we can happily end scene on this trade deal of death, blood, and life, and the perhaps chance of an ancient relic to be recovered, an accursed relic of Requiem past. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show.